Are you finding life a little bit unfair right now? Well, today I'm going to share a perspective on this and some tips, free tips that I think will be really beneficial to you that have helped me when I've found life a little bit unfair. If you stay until the very end, I have an extra point for you then as well. Now, I've had areas in my life, admittedly, that just have flowed really well. And I've had areas which are challenging. Like, I've had, like, my health pretty good. And I know some people have more challenges than I do. Now, I'm not saying I'll take that for granted because I don't. I appreciate it, and there could be something in later in life. You never know, right? But like generally, I kind of flow quite well. I get in shape quickly, and that's something I believe I've got. Like meeting people and talking to people, like I feel that flows and works for me. Other people think there's a real struggle. Um, Now, I've also found in the past, like picking up certain sports, or just you see someone turn up and they're really good, and I found it really hard to get good at football. I found it really hard to, well, one or two sports. Again, it probably depends which sports, and then things like cricket or tennis. I was just like, I just don't get it. I can't break through, and I was like, ah, it's unfair. Someone else is so good at it, like naturally. Whereas like I was working at sprinting, like getting fast, and it just someone would turn up they're naturally fast, and I'd be like, oh, that's so unfair. Or like dating, like many times it's like, why do they get a relationship and I'm like struggling dating? And I know some people can relate to this. Many people can relate to this, right? But there's areas where it flowed and areas where it didn't. And then it's like you can look at people and say, oh, it's unfair. They get a load of money and they're not, I don't feel like they're the nicest person or they deserve it. Right. All those are things I've had in my head and those conversations. I've certainly been there. And all those conversations are completely useless and wasted. You're wasting your time by thinking things are unfair. Because if you look at life working for you and how it flows and the challenges it gives you to grow, it's a different perspective. And I'm going to go into that. But like complaining about something being unfair is a complete and utter waste of time, I found. Now I'm going to go into some free tips on that and like how you release some frustration and things like that right now. Um, but yeah, like I want to outline actually something to you that I learned from David Hawkins' model of consciousness, and then broken down by one of my mentors, Peter Sage, into 4 stages. It's their model, of course, that I want to share with you. So David Hawkins created something called the map of consciousness. He's a very, very strong spiritual teacher, sadly no longer with us, but wrote some great books out there as well, including like Letting Go and Power versus Force, some great books that you'd definitely I'd recommend you check out. So basically, the map of consciousness is like the lowest level of things we can experience is shame, like shame in who we are. We're here. That's very heavy, very deep, terrible feelings, right? And then the highest level we can experience in this life is enlightenment. Now, not many people it's believed actually experience enlightenment. Maybe like some people meditate all day, every day, live in kind of like nature or whatever, but generally not so much, right? Especially in busy day-to-day societies. And you got things like love, you got which are high up there. You got things like joy, things like courage are kind of in the middle, and then you got things lower, which like guilt, anxiety, apathy, anger. Anger is actually higher than the ones I said before it because it kind of gives you can use it as power for good, and it can obviously be power for bad as well. Can make you spark a change. Now, Peter broke it down into 4 kind of levels. So the lowest level is to me. This is where you're a victim and like everything's happens to you. It's like, oh, that happened to me again. Oh, life's always harsh. Oh, this always happens to me. Why do these things always happen to me? Again, those conversations are completely useless, but it's done out of habit most of the time. And I've been there, so I'm not saying like I've been, but I'm just saying what's been empowering for me to move forward. And unfortunately, it's believed quite a lot of the world actually live in the to me world. This is like our life's against me, our life's hard, oh, there's fear around, there's all these like things going on, and it's out of my control. I wish things were different. That's a kind of like to me mentality, and it doesn't help you. Right. The next level is buy me. This is when you're like, right, I'm sick of this story of feeling crap. I'm going to take responsibility and change my life. Now, that's better than to me, but it can be exhausting if you're like working 100-hour weeks all the time, right? So buy me is when you take the power back. The next level is something called through me. This is where you really focus a lot more on your inner world, your intuition, any kind of guidance and signs that come up. But you don't sit there and meditate all day. You, of course, take action. But you take action not out of hustle, but out of what feels right. When you tune into your deeper self and then move forward with it. And then the highest level is something called as me, when you believe there's no separation between us as human beings and you give complete unconditional love to everyone, which is very, very, I don't know if anyone, probably there are people who get there, but you've got to be like really strong, spiritual, deep human beings and be like meditating, all those kind of things every day. So generally, the aim is to be in through me. But sometimes you might be a bit in by me. Now, why am I saying this? Because if you're in like life is unfair in a certain area, you're in very much to me, and that's going to exhaust you even more than being in by me, and it's not going to reward you. By me may do if you work hard at something, some change may happen, and through me it's even better because you get things speed up and they're a lot more in flow and effortless. So here are some points I want to share with you. Number one, find time to release frustration. Whether you need to scream into a pillow, write it out, whatever you need to do, let it out. Let that frustration out, because if it's been stored in the body and you're just trying to think positive, well, your body's going to take over and you're going to feel that frustration. So do breath work, whatever you need to do, right? If you're feeling frustration, hard done by, let it out. I would suggest a minimum of one longer breath work session each week where you can really breathe into your body and release what needs to be felt, whether that's tears, whether that's screams, whatever it is, or shaking it out. Right. Second one is think about the amount of energy that complaining about life being unfair is taking up. When you start becoming more aware of that, you're like, actually, that's exhausting, that's really hard work. And then you're like taking that at a time, probably doesn't feel so good. So think about the amount of energy it's actually taking up. And then that's going to make you realize, actually, I could be using that for good. And then the final point, don't complain, start creating, start thinking about what you want, right? Okay, that's unfair. What do you want? That's unfair. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And then start thinking about feeling good about putting a new order in, something you can move towards. Listen to my previous episode on goal setting. That can really, really help you as well. Like, what is it that you want to use to move forward in terms of a new order if you think life is unfair? Now, my final bonus point for you as well would be this. Get yourself a coach. It's a very simple one, but very, very effective. If you can get yourself a coach who's really going to be able to challenge you, push you through your limiting beliefs, all these kind of thought processes can be really, really beneficial. So I would highly advise getting yourself a coach, because you can't necessarily always see the patterns that's going on. They can really push you out of your comfort zone as well. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much. Always love it when you listen to the podcast. So remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.